for asking me to launch the Inclusivity and Ambition strategy for Cavan Arts 2018-2023. I said yes because of my line of work as a popular culture arts journalist for over 25 years. I've been involved in writing about various aspects of the arts, from popular culture to movies to literature, etc. I said yes because I fully believe that engaging in art, embracing art, working in art can quite literally change, if not save, your life. I am living proof of that, I can tell you. I said yes because I was immediately taken with the title of the strategy project and the words inclusivity and ambition. But first a personal thought. Things change as you get older. Anybody under the age of 12 might not realise that, but it is true. And as you get wiser too. When this happens, over those incremental hours and days and weeks and months and years, you become much more aware of what things mean, not only to those around you, but also to yourself. And in truth, or at least the way I see it, which means it's truthful to me, it's what you think of a piece of art that is the most important. It is your response to art, whether it's music, filmmaking, poetry, theatre, photography, painting, performance, whatever, that makes it come alive, that makes it work. But back to that strategy title. Let's talk about ambition for a couple of seconds, maybe even for a minute or two. In my area of work, I'm very lucky to be able to meet and talk with people who are, more often than not, household names. I met a singer several years ago. Her name is Adele. You may have heard of her. We sat down to talk about her then new album 21. This was around maybe 4 years ago, or thereabouts. Now 21 would go on to make Adele an immensely successful and wealthy person, and she knew full well that unless something went really pear-shaped, the new album would be huge. But she made it very clear to me that she didn't care about the money that she made from it. This is what she said, one of the many things she said to me, and I'm quoting here. I never had the aim of being a pop star. I knew I was going to fail my school exams, so the only reason I ended up studying music was because I thought I'd get work somewhere in the music industry. When Adele started writing songs, she worked in a clothes shop. But an early song of hers, I'm quite sure you know, it's called Hometown Glory, made its way to the offices of a record company. She was contacted for a meeting with the record company boss and went to their offices thinking they might offer her a job as a talent scout or an A&R kind of person. Instead of offering her a job as a talent scout, however, they offered her a record deal. And Adele told me that getting signed to a record label was never, ever an ambition of hers. She knew she'd be involved in music some way, somehow, but she never thought she'd be a recording artist. Now, as we now know, she is one of the most successful recording artists in the world, yet her success started from a baseline of having no ambition whatsoever to be a singer. She got that lucky first break purely and simply because she pursued what she loved doing. She persevered with what she was doing, and then she put herself into a position, perhaps unwittingly, whereby other people would take notice of her. And I think there's a lesson in there somewhere for any person of any age to think about. You start off with what you love doing because you love it, not because you want to make loads of money from it. And that, I suppose, is perhaps the primary difference between an artist and an entrepreneur. I'm just going to take a drink of water, excuse me. I have another example of how ambition can be viewed, this time a little bit closer to home. The Irish singer and songwriter, Glenn Hansard, I'm quite sure everybody has heard of this one, left school in the mid-80s in order to fulfill his burning objective of being the new or the next Bob Dylan, Van Morrison, etc., etc. I know Glenn, not very well, but I know him. I've met him professionally and socially, and I can tell you he is absolutely a reluctant celebrity. The arc of his music career has travelled from busking on Grafton Street, where people would fling coins at him. If he was lucky they didn't hit him. He formed the Frames, he received an Oscar for the movie Once, and he has since gone on to quite acclaimed body of solo work. His aim, as much by design as by instinct, has, I think, like a kind of good arrow, like a kind of well-constructed arrow, being straight and true. And I would say that all of us in our lives want success in whatever it is we choose to do. Where it gets interesting, though, I think, is that the journey itself is something you can't really control. There are moments when you will fire off an arrow and it falls short of the target. And there are other moments, like a blank page from a tree. I told you there was no control over what to do. When you will fire that arrow and it will go a lot further than you would ever hope for. The journey from back then, though, to right now is, I think, a natural entity. And whether you succeed or fail, it's impossible to predict how it will develop. One thing is certain, though. You have to fire that first arrow, and then the second, and then the third, and so on. As for inclusivity, I think we absolutely now all live in a time that is far removed from the insularity and disengagement of the past in pretty much every area of life. We are no longer confined to what we can see, hear, or read by the limited availability of 3 television channels. That's 3 if you were lucky back in the early 80s. A couple of radio stations and a few newspapers. Instead, we are now 3 clicks away from anything and everything we want to see, and some things we don't want to see. On our phones, laptops, desktops, and cinema-sized TV screens. Where there was once an excuse or reason to overlook things, there certainly isn't now. These days, everything is to play for, and if diversity isn't recognised, enabled, engaged with, promoted, sustained, from head to toe, in all areas of life and society, religion, ethnicity, culture, politics, race, sexuality, gender, language, mental health, physical ability, then we are missing out on the most vital element of art, the one that differentiates an authentic human experience from a generic, robotic voice, and that is the individual. Now, it goes without saying that every single one of us in this room know that funding is an issue, participation is a concern, infrastructure, both physical and digital, is a topic of conversation, sometimes heated. Reaching an audience and capturing that audience is key, but it boils down to, and I'm going to quote a line from the strategy, it boils down to creating an environment where everyone feels that the arts are relevant to them. Which brings it all back really to art meaning something to you, speaking to you, and what your response to it is. And I'm going to really kind of localise it now, and I didn't really think this would work, but when Katrina contacted me, I thought that it might be no harm to add this to it. As recently as 2 years ago, a makeshift band called Sons of Southern Ulster, in essence a few 50-something men who had lived as teenagers in the county Cavan town in the early to mid-80s, released an album called Foundry Folk Songs. The album references growing up in Ballyborough, which is, as you know, we're really close to here. And it's a brilliant collection of authentic songs and memories, delivered with, wouldn't you know it, an individual voice. The songs are about kids in a small town not too far from the border. The songs are about being teenagers who wanted to be different, but who had to go away in order to be so. The songs are about what it was once like to live in an Irish county that didn't have its own council arts office until 1989. The arrival of the arts office in Cavan was too late for the lads who would leave Ballyborough, who would have to leave Ballyborough for other parts of the world, but who would, some 30 years later, filter these memories in order to process what they perhaps hadn't been able to articulate when they were teenagers. Fortunately, it wasn't too late for some of Cavan's most recent successes in music, particularly. And obviously I'm going to read out names you know. Lisa O'Neill, The Stripes, Anya Cahill. There's a brother of a kind of guy whose music I admire very, very much. He was in a band called Deck and Dance. His brother's here, that guy's name is Brendan Perry. I have no idea what brother's name is, but he's a really hirsute guy. Yeah, okay, man, okay. So kind of people like that have maybe kind of benefited from, have more than likely benefited from the addition of what the likes of Katrina and Rhonda and other various colleagues have been doing for the last while. And I think the presence of an increased awareness, of an increased ability to engage with, be it funding or even assistance, is how good the arts can be for the head and the heart. Sometimes art has to have a lengthy clarifying procedure in order for it to make sense. Sometimes enlightenment doesn't land immediately, but thankfully you won't need such a prolonged clarifying process for Inclusivity and Ambition, a strategy for Cavan Arts 2018-2023, because it is clearly happening right here, right now, and over the next 5 years. Thank you very much.